Big shout out to Sporting Icons, best channel out there.
Okay, so after about 2, maybe going on 3 months, the IBF have finally made some changes in their top 15 in the heavyweight division. So as always, I'm going to go through the top 15, show you the changes, and there are some big changes, by the way, and we'll have a look at what fights recently happened, what fights are coming up, and how the landscape is looking as far as the IBF is concerned. So if you are new to this channel, click that subscribe button. You're a boxing fan, correct? Click that subscribe button. It's free. Now, the top 15 goes as such. Oleksandr Usyk is the IBF World Heavyweight Champion. Of course, he also holds the WBO and the WBA. The number 1 position is vacant, but that's for the mandatory position. As soon as Zhilei Zhang and Filip Hrgovic get their fight underway, that position will be filled. So number 2 is King Kong Luis Ortiz. Number 3, Filip Hrgovic. Number 4, Anthony Joshua. Number 5, Martin Piccoli. Number 6, Joe Joyce. Number 7, Ajit Kabayel. Number 8, Andy Ruiz Jr. Number 9, Tony Yoka. Number 10, Dempsey McKean. Number 11, Kash Ali, fresh insert. Number 12, Zhilei Zhang. Number 13, Frank Sanchez. Number 14, Hughie Fury. And fresh insert at number 15, Otto Wallin. 2 names have dropped out, which are Murat Gassiev and Charles Martin. Murat Gassiev, I imagine, because he's been very inactive, and Charles Martin because obviously he lost to Luis Ortiz. So let's do the fresh inserts first. Kash Ali. Now, he's a Dennis Hobson fighter, and last time out he fought Ruiz Jr. I know Ruiz Jr. Pretty well. I've seen him spar many rounds. He's a decent fighter. He is pretty good. But in all honesty, I think Ruiz Jr., it was his fitness that let him down in that fight with Kash Ali. Kash Ali ended up stopping him. But Kash Ali is one of these kind of fighters who, he's got ability, but he kind of gets pretty lazy in fights. Now, a lot of you will probably think of Kash Ali, and when you do, you'll think of the David Price fight where he bit the stomach of David Price when they went on the floor and ended up getting himself disqualified. But Kash Ali, he's a IBF European champion, I think he is. That's probably why he's got this position, but he's also got this position because Dennis Hobson has a lot of sway with the IBF. He does, okay? Where a lot of his fighters will get either IBF trinket titles or IBO titles, and that as well. Nothing wrong with that. You need a promoter with some sway. You do. Like Frank Warren and Bob Arum have crazy sway with the WBO. Don King has crazy sway with the WBA especially, and in part with the WBC. The PBC has it with the WBC for a long time, and it seems that they're seeping into the WBA as well. Now, Kash Ali, why would he be in there? Now, what I do know, or so I heard I should say, is that when Anthony Joshua, when he's meant to be having an interim fight, because obviously Usyk was over there in Ukraine, Kash Ali was a fighter on the shortlist. I do know that. Okay, so Kash Ali could have had an opportunity against Anthony Joshua potentially, but Kash Ali, he wants a big fight, he wants a decent fight, and he wants to be fighting Fabio Wardley for the British title. So Kash Ali, and again, we're being realistic, and I like Kash Ali, I've interviewed him a couple of times, he's a nice guy. He hasn't won a British yet, but he's in the top 15 of the IBF in the world. That's a lot of sway from Dennis Hobson, it really is. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Kash Ali turns out to be the opponent for Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is looking for an opponent after Joseph Parker postponed their fight and looks like he's ultimately cancelled. Now Joseph Parker's gone exclusive with Boxer and Sky Sports. So they need a new opponent. I am hearing that Christian Hammer could well be the opponent, but maybe you're going to have a Kash Ali in there. It could well happen. It could well happen. So we'll have to watch this space, see what happens with him, with Kash Ali, as to what is next for him. The other insert is Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, he's on a series of pretty decent results lately. Didn't look great when he fought that Polish Brit, Kamil Sokolowski. He didn't look great, but he got the win. He eked it out for sure. But Otto Wallin is the name that a lot of people would like to see other fighters test themselves against. And I think a lot of it is because was his fight against Tyson Fury, was that just Tyson Fury not on form? Or maybe Otto Wallin is better than what people really think that he is. So we'd like to see Otto Wallin in with somebody who's pretty good. Don't be surprised if you see Otto Wallin and Joseph Parker. I say Joseph Parker signed with Boxing Sky Sports. Boxing Sky Sports don't have a huge stable of heavyweights, but Otto Wallin, he has featured on one of their shows quite recently in Cardiff, and he has a very good relationship, or it appears that there's a good relationship between Dimitri Salita, which is Otto Wallin's promoter, and of course with Boxer. So don't be surprised if you end up seeing that fight at some point. Now, Martin Piccoli boosted right the way up from number 15 to number 5. Of course, that was because he ultimately destroyed Tony Yoka in a fight that I don't think too many people were predicting was going to happen. I know there's quite a few people predict that maybe he'd beat Tony Yoka, but maybe get screwed on the cards. Don't get me wrong. At least one of the judges tried to do it, but didn't quite work out that way for him. But Martin Piccoli has put himself on the map after that win. Yes, Tony Yoka, he is a prospect, of course, but he's the Olympic gold medalist. Again, contentious. Some people feel that it should have been awarded to Joe Joyce. But that was a very good win, especially in France for Martin Piccoli. There's talk that Martin Piccoli could end up fighting a Dillian Whyte. He could end up fighting maybe the winner of Hughie Fury and Michael Hunter. Maybe you could see Martin Piccoli against a Joseph Parker, something like that. So I'd imagine that Martin Piccoli will get a decent fight next. Now, I don't know who his managerial team is anymore. It was MTK, but obviously they've closed their doors. So I don't know if Martin Piccoli is currently a free agent. I don't know. Or maybe Billy Nelson, his trainer, is now his manager. I don't know. But that's a huge leap. Now, ultimately, when it comes to the IBF, it doesn't really matter where anybody's ranked currently. Because the number one position, the mandatory position, which is the most important one, is going to be filled. And it's going to be between Filip Hrgovic and Zhilei Zhang. As we know, their fight was scheduled for the Canelo Alvarez and Dimitri Bivol undercard. But because Filip Hrgovic's father unfortunately passed away, training obviously won't go in the plan, so they decided to postpone it. When is that fight going to happen? We don't know. We'll have to wait and find out from Wasserman and Matchroom about that. But that position of the mandatory will soon be fulfilled, you would imagine. Now, outside of that, of course, Tony Yoka, who lost to Martin Piccoli, has dropped down to number 9. Could he be argued that he should have really been dropped a little bit more? I mean, considering that Martin Piccoli jumped up 10 places and Tony Yoka only dropped down 4, you would have thought that Tony Yoka would have probably dropped down by about 10 positions. But it is what it is. What can you do? Number 2, Luis Ortiz. Now, Luis Ortiz is meant to be taking on Andy Ruiz Jr. Allegedly, these guys have a contract that's all signed and sealed, but we're still waiting for a date and a venue, to my knowledge, unless, of course, it has been announced and it's totally bypassed me. If any of you know about that, please drop it in the comment section. But should Luis Ortiz be number 2? No, he shouldn't be number 2. Reason being, because, yes, he defeated Charles Martin. He didn't look great. Of course, he got dropped by a jab from Charles Martin. But the fact that he was offered the final eliminator for the mandatory position against Filip Hrgovic, and he turned it down. But he got an escape clause out of that one because he claimed he was injured. Yeah, of course he was. But at least, in some ways, at least when Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, I say when, if they fight, that will be the number 2 and the number 8 within the IBF. So that's good that 2 people in the top 15 are actually fighting each other. And that seems to be the theme here as well. Now, number 10, Dempsey McKean from Australia, 21-0, is currently training at the Matchroom gym with Tony Sims. He looked pretty good, big guy. He's 6'7", southpaw. I believe he was a sparring partner for Dillian Whyte for the Tyson Fury fight. He certainly was when Dillian Whyte was meant to be taking on Otto Wallin. Dempsey McKean has been in the training camp with Anthony Joshua as well for the first Usyk fight. Is he back in the camp again? I don't know. But Dempsey McKean, I would imagine he's going to be end up fighting somebody like a Lucas Brown or something like that, because Eddie Hearn is now in Australia, or at least on his way to Australia today, and he's going to be announcing some kind of show. They're going to be doing something in Australia. You would imagine Dempsey McKean is a big part of that, and what better than to have a headline fight, if you like, for Australia, Dempsey McKean or Lucas Brown. Obviously, Lucas Brown, fresh on a very good victory over Junior Farr. So don't be surprised if that actually happens, okay? But other than that, obviously a couple of changes up and down with like the opposition and that. But as I said, the most important part right now is that vacant mandatory position number 1 between Hrgovic and Zhilei Zhang. Kash Ali, number 11. Interesting to find out what happens with him. Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.